What's up, YouTube? This is Big Mike. In this video, I want to talk about Isiah Thomas's comments, saying that if you hadn't heard earlier today, I don't know where he appeared on. Maybe it was ESPN. I don't know, and I don't know the exact quote, but I read it earlier. He said that no disrespect to Michael Jordan, but he thinks that LeBron James is a much better overall player than Jordan, a more complete player, and that no player other than two other players have dominated their era in this way, that being Bill Russell and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Now, I have to say I'm suspicious of Zeke because of the fact that you have to consider the source. Zeke doesn't like Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan doesn't like Zeke. I mean, we all know that Jordan kept Isiah Thomas off the off the Dream Team back in 1992. Although he wasn't the only one that didn't want to play with Isiah. We know for a fact that Clyde Drexler and Scottie Pippen didn't want to play with him. All right. Now, having said that, I kind of get where he's going with this. All right, this is where he's going with this. The Boston Celtics, before Bill Russell got there, were a good team. All right, but they weren't a great team. Before he got there, Bob Cousy was the first option, I believe. Basically, they were known for that backcourt. Bob Cousy and Bill Sharman. Frank Ramsey was their sixth man. And, they were a good team, but they weren't a championship team. Back in those days, early 1950s, you had the Minneapolis Lakers dynasty, Then you had the Rochester Royals, I believe, won a title. Later on, it became the Cincinnati Royals. Later on, it became the Kansas City Omaha Kings, and of course, now they're known as Sacramento Kings. But you had those guys winning championships, the Syracuse Nationals, now known as Philadelphia 76ers. You had the Philadelphia Warriors, now known as Golden State Warriors, winning titles. So it was, I guess what you would say, more parity. But Boston was not a championship team. Enter Bill Russell, and he totally transformed that team. I believe Boston, before Bill Russell got there, was known more as an offensive team. But when Bill Russell got there, they could still score with the best of them. But they became a totally different beast on defense because Bill Russell could guard, literally when he was younger, up until his early 30s. Bill Russell literally could guard all five positions. He was 6'9", he was 215, 220, well, 6'9 and a half, 6'10 and a half in shoes. 215, 220, could guard all five positions. Athletic out this world, okay? I think young people see the 84-year-old man, right? This 84-year-old man who might be in failing health now. And they see this old man, and they can't fathom the athlete that he once was. This was a guy who was, at one point in time, Bill Russell, if memory serves him correctly, he was a top 10 high jumper ranked in the world when he was drafted in 1956. When he was drafted, Boston became a championship team, a dynasty, and were going to win 11 titles in 13 years. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, well, he was so dominant that in college, when he was playing with UCLA, the NCAA outlawed the dunk. Really, they did it because they were trying to slow Kareem Abdul-Jabbar down. It didn't work. UCLA was a dynasty. When Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, formerly Lou Alcindor, was in high school, Power Memorial, his high school, were a championship caliber team. When Lou Alcindor, soon to be Jabbar, was drafted by the Milwaukee Bucks, they doubled their win totals. I think they won 28 games before he got there in the 68 season. No, excuse me, the 68, 69 season. 69, 70 season, they won 56 ball games. 70, 71, they won 66 ball games. And they won a title. Oscar Robertson joined the club. All right. Jabbar is the all-time leading scorer. He has a record 6 MVPs, 6 championships. All right. And a plethora a plethora of all-time records and the respect of his peers. So I get where he's going with that. LeBron James, I guess he's pretty much saying, if you take him off that team, they're not going to be worth a damn. I get that. And a lot of people like use the argument that Jordan is overrated because the 93-94 Bulls won 55 games, but there's a reason behind that. I did a video about that. Pretty much the reason why, in my opinion, they only dropped 2 wins is because they pretty much overhauled the entire roster. Keep in mind that, look at it like this, folks. I look at it like this. That team that played in 93-94 were essentially the 72-win Bulls without Dennis Rodman and Michael Jordan. All right? But you pretty much don't count Dennis Rodman because they still had Horace Grant, who is pretty much an even trade, even though I think Dennis Rodman was a much better rebounder. Horace Grant was a better offensive player. So it's a swap. So let's just say essentially you have the 96 Bulls, right? But you don't have Michael Jordan. And they won 55 games. So essentially if you put Michael Jordan in a team, they win 69, 62, 72 games. So without Jordan, essentially they're netted down 10, 15, 17 wins. You get where I'm going with that? So it wasn't that Jordan was overrated. It was the fact that gone was John Paxson, retired and kicked to the front office. Gone was Bill Cartwright. Gone were these old players who were a shell of themselves. Rodney McCray, Trent Tucker. Gone were these guys, which was that team pretty much had the weakest bench of any championship Bulls team. And now you have the guys who are the nucleus of the championship team. Judd Bushler, Luke Longley, Tony Kukoc, who's underrated, Ron Harper. All right? You have all these guys coming in, Randy Brown, all these guys who were part of the championship team are now with the Bulls, all of them young, Steve Kerr, all of them young, not great, but individually they fit in certain pieces. They were the perfect cogs for the formula for what made the Bulls were successful. And then you have Scottie Pippen, who was in his absolute prime. I think 1993, 94, 95, 96 was Scottie Pippen's prime. After that, the back injury started taking their toll on Scottie. All right. But Scottie Pippen was in his prime. 93, 94, 94, 95, vintage Scottie Pippen. All right. Masterful head coaching job by Phil Jackson and his assistant coaches, slowing the pace down. All right. Recognizing that you lost 32 points per game for Michael Jordan. We're not going to be able to make all that up, but we can try to make up for it to an extent by slowing the pace down and trying to win games on our defense. All right? And they did that. but their offense suffered. The Bulls went from, I believe, averaging 103 points per game in 1993 season, which was Michael Jordan's last season, to averaging 96 points per game. But the defense actually gave up fewer points in 94 as opposed to 93 because of the new style of play. And voila, the Bulls had a lot of close but important victories. Now, to counter that argument with LeBron, true, when LeBron James left Cleveland in 2010, they dropped from 61 wins to 19 wins. A lot of that was because of LeBron James leaving. But you have to understand also that Mike Brown, who was the coach of the year, was fired. And a lot of the players, including Anderson Varejao and Mo Williams, were injured for that season, along with a couple other players, missing huge amounts of games, like 50, 60 games. So you take that into consideration. You take away LeBron James. You take away your head coach. You take away the philosophy, which, and you don't have the guys there that were needed for success. You don't even have even the headless, beast of a team. Everybody's gone. You're going to have disarray, and that's what you had, a horrible individual season. All right? So, yes, LeBron James is important. He's a big piece of the team. But to say he's a more complete basketball player, I think is poor wording. He has a certain style of play. Michael Jordan has a certain style of play. Michael Jordan was a smaller player. He was a shooting guard. He was more perimeter orientated. He was only 6'6", 200. LeBron James 6'8", 250, 260, maybe 270. All right? The rule changes. Makes it easier for guys like a LeBron James to score. All right? Michael Jordan was not just a one-dimensional scorer. When he came into the NBA, when he was a rookie, he led the team in points, rebounds, assists, and steals. So to say he was one-dimensional is absurd. In the 88-89 season, Doug Collins experimented with putting Michael Jordan at the point guard position. In the span of 15 games, Michael Jordan had 10 triple-doubles. So he could have done what LeBron James did. And as a matter of fact, during that NBA season, he averaged 32 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. A guy who was only 6'6", and at the time 195 pounds. Okay? Michael Jordan, as he said it himself in an interview, was a utility man. Michael Jordan was not going to give you triple-double after triple-double because he exerted so much energy scoring the basketball. But unlike LeBron James now, Michael Jordan gave maximum effort on both sides of the court. There was a period of time between 1988 and I'd say 1993 when Michael Jordan was considered the best offensive player and best defensive player in the NBA. LeBron James is no longer considered one of the game's elite defensive players. But of course, nobody pays attention to defense anymore. It's all about offense, right? And as far as dominating his era, LeBron James is very dominant. But let's consider something. In 2007, the Cleveland Cavaliers played the San Antonio Spurs, and they were in a conference that was pretty weak. All right, let's be honest. This is before the Big Three in Boston. It was kind of a weak era. Okay, when they did have that one opponent, which was the Big Three, that Boston team, when he actually had to go against a dominant team in the Eastern Conference, LeBron James got his ass kicked to the point where he got frustrated and left Cleveland. They made him leave Cleveland and form his own quote-unquote Big Three. And then he had one of the worst final performances of all time in 2011, where he averaged, I think, 9 or 10 points less than the season average. I mean, this is a guy who let players like Deshaun Stevenson and Jason Terry get in his head. Could you imagine the mind games of Larry Bird and Michael Jordan? You know what I mean? Dennis Rodman would do this guy. And now LeBron James is headed to the NBA Finals. And he's being applauded for beating a team that didn't have not only their best player, but their two best players. And this is the hypocrisy of a lot of LeBron fanboys, a lot of fanboys in general. They're calling this his greatest achievement. That wasn't his greatest achievement. His greatest achievement was winning a title for Cleveland, a team that had never won an NBA championship. That was his greatest achievement. Although Kyrie Irving had a lot to do with it, he was the one that actually hit the championship winning shot over Stephen Curry. But LeBron James beat a team that he should have beaten. All right? What Boston did was extraordinary. A team that didn't have its two best players and make it that far. That's like you taking out, that's like you getting rid of DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry and this Raptor team making it to the NBA conference finals. All right? But we all know that LeBron James is going to lose. All right? They're going to lose the next round. But before I go into that, LeBron fanboys like to give him props for that. But in 2015, afterward, they would say, oh, but LeBron didn't have Kyrie and Kevin Love. But that's not thought about with Boston when it comes to his fanboys. But anyway, LeBron's going to lose in the NBA Finals to whoever comes out the West. Houston, it might be a little bit more competitive, but Houston's going to beat them. If it's Golden State, it's not even going to be close. Okay? It's not even going to be close. They might sweep them. All right? And then they're going to just be like, well, he made it to the finals again. Well, you know what? Jerry West made it to the finals 10 times. 9 times as well. And he went 1-8. And nobody fucking remembers the times that he lost constantly to the Boston Celtics. No one gives a fuck. They only remember when 71-72 they beat the New York Knicks. That's when it counts. If LeBron drops a 3-6, it will never, ever equal 6-0. 6-0. And I strongly believe if Michael Jordan had never retired in the first place in October 93, he would be 8-0. Because I don't think that Houston Rocket team would have beaten the Chicago Bulls. I just can't bet. I can't bet against a prime Michael Jordan. As great as Akeem Olajuwon was, the Bulls would have figured out a way to beat him. I think they would have played him similar to how we played Shaq in 96. Let Olajuwon do what he has to do. Let him get off and shut down the shooters. Play in the passing lanes. Get turnovers. Okay? But anyway, that's a whole nother video. If you think that LeBron James is better than Michael Jordan, that's one thing. Okay, whatever. But to insult him like that, to say that he's not a complete basketball player, when he was considered the best player in the NBA, what is that saying about other guards like Clyde Drexler? What is that saying about other players like Charles Barkley and Karl Malone and John Stockton and Reggie Miller, all right, and Mitch Richmond, Glenn Rice, Shaq, Penny Hardaway, Grant Hill, all right, Alonzo Mourning, Tim Hardaway, Chris Mullin. What are you saying about these guys if Michael's not a complete player? Are those guys half of players? It's a ridiculous statement, in my opinion, by Isiah Thomas. But tell me what you guys think.